In the deep, dark cave, our protagonist wakes up with eyes wide in disbelief, immediately scanning his surroundings. A question echoes in his mind: where am I? This place is completely unfamiliar. His head fills with fragmented memories. The last image is the cold steel of a demon tribe sword and the sharp pain piercing his chest. He whispers in a trembling voice, "Indeed, I have died by the sword of the demon tribe." This truth, cold as ice water soaking into his soul, makes him fully aware of his situation. A thought flashes through his mind: that's right, this must be the rumored reincarnation. Rumors say that a soul can reincarnate into another body after death. So curious and astonished, he bends down to look at himself. What have I turned into now? Suddenly, a system image appears in his mind, displaying a strange line of text. Behemoth cub, causing his mouth to drop open. His memories connect with knowledge from the old world. A behemoth is a disaster-class monster, requiring the strength of an entire nation to handle its chaos. Emotions churn within him. In his previous life, he was a knight sworn to protect humanity. How could a knight who once put humanity first be cruelly transformed into the very creature he once fought against? He heads to a nearby pond for water, but screams upon seeing his reflection. He has turned into a cat. Meanwhile, an elf named Arya wakes up to a new day, quickly changes clothes, and takes her twin swords to hunt monsters. As she ventures forth, he stands stunned by the lake, pondering the irony of his fate. However, before he can gather his thoughts, a strange noise alerts him to a nearby threat. A slim creature approaches, clearly intent on devouring him. With no choice left, he checks his abilities and discovers the skill absorb attribute. He shouts rock howling, and a powerful sound wave transforms into a sharp stone spike that shoots at the creature, defeating it instantly. However, he soon faced another issue. He hadn't eaten or drunk anything since reincarnating. Overcome by hunger and thirst, he reluctantly tried eating monster meat. To his surprise, it tasted sweet, and consuming it allowed him to acquire the creature's skills. Excited by this discovery, he decided to store a slime for later use. Meanwhile, Arya navigated a labyrinth by boat, presenting her badge to gain entry and using a crystal to illuminate the dungeon's dark corridors. Back at the pond, he continued his efforts to adapt to his new form. He defeated a wyvern, gaining the ability to fly, and a C+ class minotaur, from which he acquired the skills Fireball and Ice. His streak of victories continued as he overcame a B-class golem, earning the Iron Body skill, and a C-class serpent, which granted him Poison Fangs. Ahead, he spotted a glowing treasure chest and eagerly opened it, finding a giant crystal inside. His heart swelled with anticipation and joy, but his excitement was short-lived as he realized the chest was a trap. The crystal ensnared him, teleporting him to another dark location. A powerful force overwhelmed him, and he found himself standing on the back of a huge earth dragon, an S-rank monster. The dragon roared angrily, insulting him for disturbing its sleep. Desperate to defend himself, he attempted to use rock howling again, but the stone spikes had no effect on the formidable dragon. Activating Iron Body, he made his body as hard as iron to dodge the dragon's crushing attacks. The dragon acknowledged his resilience but still found him too weak, attempting to crush him with its massive foot. In a desperate move, he activated the Ether Edge skill, slicing through the air with sharp light and damaging the dragon. Utilizing the flight skill, he soared back into the air, escaping as the earth dragon howled in frustration. Exhausted and bleeding, he collapsed, feeling helpless and losing consciousness. Just as he was about to surrender, Arya took care of the kitten. She fed him, patched up his scratches, and even changed clothes right in front of him. The smug little shit is having the time of his life, chugging milk like a king and snoozing on her massive chest, like it's a 5-star resort. Naturally, he decides that he's going to repay her kindness by becoming her self-declared protector. One day, Arya suits up for a mission, and the orange freeloading knight thinks, "Hell yeah, I'm coming too." She's chopping through goblins in the dungeon like she's at an all-you-can-slash buffet. Meanwhile, her furry sidekick is just vibing, thinking, "Damn, maybe she's not as useless as I thought." But then, the plot thickens. A goblin mage shows up. This one's not just waving sticks around, it actually knows magic. The little green shit hurls a fireball at Arya, who's caught completely off guard. Enter the kitten, ready to be the hero of his own story. He shoves her out of the way and goes full psycho mode, slashing the goblin's face with his tiny murder mittens until it's dead. Arya, stunned and probably wondering how her cat's cooler than most adventurers, lets him crash on her chest as a reward. Honestly, the cat's playing this life thing on cheat mode. Later, at the Adventurers Guild, things take a turn. Arya bumps into Kasman, a greasy red-haired creep who practically oozes bad vibes. He's all over her, begging her to join his party. When she shuts him down, again, the asshole tries to grab her ass. Big mistake. The kitten launches himself at Kasman's face like a furry missile of rage, biting and scratching like he's trying to peel the guy's skin off. Kasman freaks out and tries to swing at him, but Arnold, the guild leader, who looks like he moonlights as a stripper, steps in. Kasman scurries off humiliated, while the guild cheers like a bunch of drunk NPCs. Arya decides to officially adopt her tiny attack cat, naming him Tama. The name's ugly as hell, but Tama's too smug to care. Now Tama gets to chill around Arya without anyone raising an eyebrow. Meanwhile, Arya kept grinding out her daily quests, hoping to snag a promotion at the guild. The guild was its usual chaotic self, booze flowing, people laughing, and everyone too drunk to care about anything. Arya eventually made her way to the fields with Tama in tow. Instead of giving him the belly rubs he deserved, she decided to tickle him in ways only a slightly drunk person would think is funny. Tama let out a dramatic yowl, probably regretting every life choice that led him to this moment. Arya, drunk out of her mind, decides it's time for a bath, and because she has zero boundaries, she drags Tama in with her. The kitten, probably thinking, "What fresh hell is this?" eventually jumps in. As he floats toward her, assets, you can practically hear him thinking, "This is both the best and worst decision I've ever made." Arya starts pouring her heart out. She talks about her shitty childhood, how demons trashed her village, and how the legendary sword saint saved the day. That's the moment she decided to become a knight. Now, she's questioning if she's strong enough to live up to that dream. Tama, being the smart little furball he is, knew all about Alicia the sword saint. She wasn't just strong, she was the real deal, a legend. To comfort Arya, Tama rubs his face against hers, doing that magical cat thing that makes people feel better. It works. After a cozy bath, she heads out and the villagers greet her like she's royalty. Meanwhile, Tama is perched on her chest, clearly enjoying the free ride and basking in her popularity. At the guild, Arya meets up with Arnold, the twinkish guildmaster, who has some bad news. The creep from before, Kasman, had filed an official complaint against Tama. Why? Because the kitten shredded his already unfortunate face with those little paws of justice. Now Kasman, the poster boy for menace to society, demands that Tama be put down. Arya, desperate to save her beloved cat, gets on her knees and begs for mercy. But Kasman, the walking grease stain, has a plan. He proposes a duel to settle the matter. If he wins, Arya has to marry him. If she wins, she keeps Tama. Arya agrees without hesitation because, frankly, she'd rather die than let this clown harm her kitten. Arya doesn't even hesitate before agreeing to the fight, even though the odds are stacked against her. She's a D-rank adventurer going up against Kasman, a C-rank bully with a massive ego. Kasman, in all his cowardly glory, tries to save face by calling on the villagers to fight for Arya, so no one can accuse him of picking on someone weaker. Shockingly, or maybe not, the villagers want nothing to do with this mess and leave Arya hanging. Kasman smirks, thinking he's got an easy win. But oh, how wrong he is. Enter Tama, the tiny orange knight with a big attitude. Without a second thought, the kitten steps up to defend his master. Kasman, too dumb to realize he's signing his own humiliation slip, accepts Tama into the duel. The fight kicks off, and Kasman charges in, sword swinging, convinced he's got this in the bag. Arya, desperate to protect Tama, rushes at Kasman, but gets a solid kick to the stomach for her trouble. As she hits the ground, Kasman bursts into laughter, because nothing says big man like kicking someone who's clearly outmatched. Arya fights back with her knives, but Kasman dodges easily, throwing in a lame kitchen joke just to rub salt in the wound. Meanwhile, Tama watches his master struggle, knowing it's time to stop holding back. Kasman, feeling extra gross, starts harassing Arya mid-fight, calling her his future wife and generally being the creepiest creep to ever creep. That's the last straw for Tama. The little furball makes up his mind to annihilate Kasman's fragile masculinity once and for all. As Kasman taunts Arya, Tama charges in with his iron body skill, snapping Kasman's precious blade like a dry twig. Before the red-haired loser can process what's happening, Tama activates Aether Howling. sending him flying into a conveniently placed set of dark, bushy trees. Kazman ends up dangling from a branch, his broken blade follows him, and lands in the most unfortunate spot, effectively ending his bloodline. With Kazman defeated and thoroughly humiliated, you'd think it'd be a happy ending, but nope. Tama's magical powers are now out in the open, and the villagers start pointing fingers, looking like they're about to form a mob. Poor Tama assumes it's the end. In his head, he's already writing his final goodbyes and preparing for the pitchforks. As the battle unfolded, Anna realized something very important. Tama was definitely an elemental cat, given his ability to understand human speech and use attribute magic. The people around sighed in relief. In the end, Arya emerged as the winner of the match. The crowd erupted into cheers, celebrating a spectacular victory for Arya. A new day dawned, and Tama understood that, though he was a behemoth, he had been mistaken for a cat and now lived happily with his elf master. The next morning, Tama wakes up on his owner Arya's pillow and snuggles against her face. Arya enjoys the moment. Encouraged, Tama gives her pointy ear a gentle lick, which makes her react with a moaning sound. Startled, Tama jumps off the bed and watches her from a distance. Arya, looking thrilled, cheerfully asks for more cuddles, but Tama stays cautious. Later, the two head to Vulcan Ferreira, a blacksmith with tiger ears who warmly greets them. Tama is surprised by Vulcan's appearance, but she quickly approaches the kitten, having heard a lot about him. Arya formally introduces Tama, and Vulcan, charmed by the kitten's cuteness, asks to hold him. The elf places Tama in Vulcan's hands, and both women are delighted by his playful behavior. Tama, meanwhile, feels like he's dreaming, because everything around him seems so strange. Vulcan asks Arya what she needs, reminding her that her weapon is still being worked on. Arya requests special, durable armor for Tama, and Vulcan, excited by the challenge, agrees to create it. She takes Tama's measurements, planning to include adjustable magic in the armor since the kitten is still growing. While Vulcan works on the armor, Arya asks Tama if he would like to join her on adventures. Tama eagerly agrees, vowing to protect his owner. Vulcan works through the night, and by the next day, the armor is ready. When Tama puts it on, Arya is charmed by how adorable he looks, while Tama is amazed by Vulcan's craftsmanship and speed. However, Vulcan reveals that Arya's swords are a bigger problem. They're heavy and fragile, and despite reforging them multiple times, they don't suit her well. Arya admits she struggles with the swords, and Vulcan suggests they form a temporary team. By observing Arya in combat, she hopes to identify the problem and improve the swords. The team ventures into a dungeon where Vulcan showcases her strength by defeating goblins with her powerful hammer. Tama is impressed by Vulcan's extraordinary strength, having heard of the Tiger People's reputation, but never witnessed it firsthand. When a goblin casts a fire spell at Vulcan, she easily resists and counters with her enchanted flames, eliminating the monster in a single strike. Arya, inspired but nervous, faces an orc next. She hesitates but gathers her courage, using her acceleration skill to attack. The orc blocks and counterattacks, but Tama intervenes, using his magical shield to break the orc's axe. With the path clear, Arya finishes the battle, though she doesn't seem satisfied with her performance. Vulcan observes and explains that Arya's long swords throw her off balance, making her movements awkward. Arya asks for advice, determined to improve. Vulcan suggests they move to the next dungeon floor, where a suitable monster awaits for training. However, when they encounter weak ropers, Arya can't hide her frustration, wondering how these creatures will help her grow stronger. At the same time, Tama is worried that the ropers might grab his master Arya with their tentacles in an uncomfortable way. Vulcan reassures them that fighting these creatures will force Arya to focus on her movements, helping her improve her combat skills. With determination, Arya charges at the first roper using her acceleration skill, but the creature's tentacles force her to retreat. Observing the battle, Tama realizes that Arya's usual fighting style won't work here. Things get worse when the roper knocks her sword from her right hand. Even so, Arya refuses to give up and continues the fight with her remaining sword. Surprisingly, without the weight of two swords, her movements become much faster. With better speed and balance, she manages to dodge the tentacles more effectively and lands her first attack on the roper. However, during the fight, the roper breaks her remaining blade, leaving her unarmed. Vulcan quickly throws a dagger and the broken blade back to Arya, who uses both weapons to stab and defeat the creature. With her confidence restored, Iria charges at the second roper, moving even faster than before. She notices the enemy's slower attacks and realizes that her difficulty in combat stemmed from her mismatched equipment. With newfound precision, she delivers several swift strikes, cutting the creature's tentacles. However, the holes left behind release a sticky substance that nearly covers her entirely. Furious, Iria shouts that such behavior is only acceptable from Tama and attacks the roper with triple the intensity. She cuts off all its tentacles and slices its body in half, naming her new move Wind Blade. After the fight, Tama is thrilled to see how quickly Iria adapted and improved. Seizing the moment, he bites the roper's corpse to absorb its abilities. Though disgusted by the creature's bitter taste, Tama gains the powers to summon tentacles, spray infinite mucus, and crossbreed. Meanwhile, Iria continues angrily stabbing the monster's remains, still upset about what it did. After calming down, Iria admits she started using 2 long swords to honor the Sword Saint, but realizes they don't suit her style. She finds that shorter weapons feel more natural for her. Tama gently strokes her face, agreeing with her decision. Vulcan praises Iria's progress and suggests they rest before venturing further into the dungeon. Vulcan leads them to a safe spot protected by a philosopher's stone that keeps monsters away. Seeing the stone reminds Iria of her village being attacked, but she sets the memory aside and prepares to clean up after her battle with the ropers. With water nearby, Iria takes the opportunity to bathe and removes her armor. Tama quickly looks away, reminding himself that a knight must stay focused and not let distractions take over. However, Iria playfully calls him to join her, and he reluctantly enters the water with the 2 women. While bathing, Iria asks Vulcan about their main group. Vulcan explains that the group has split up, with some members changing priorities and others starting families. She then warns Iria to keep an eye on Tama because elemental cats like him can crossbreed with other creatures. Tama, remembering his newly acquired ability, suddenly feels awkward. Vulcan jokingly adds that when Tama grows older and more confident, no one will be able to stop him. He might even charm Iria herself. Tama, embarrassed by the remark, quietly pretends he didn't hear it. Tama silently promises to himself that he would never act on the strange idea Vulcan teased about, even though Irida seems to think it's a wonderful notion. She playfully encourages Tama to grow up faster so she can spend even more special moments with him. With that lighthearted exchange, the group continues their journey, eventually encountering a C+ ranked Minotaur. The sight of the high-level monster terrifies Iria, but Vulcan reassures her that she will step in if needed. This fight, Vulcan declares, will be Iria's ultimate test. Gathering her courage, Iria accepts the challenge and charges at the Minotaur. Confident in her skills, she uses her Windblade technique, but the attack barely scratches the powerful monster. Realizing the situation is worse than expected, Vulcan steps in with her hammer, but the Minotaur skillfully blocks her attack with its shield. Meanwhile, Iria makes multiple attempts with her Windblade, but the monster's strength and defense outmatch her power. However, Iria's speed allows her to stay ahead of the Minotaur's counterattacks. On her 3rd strike, she lands a hit on the Minotaur's eye, causing the monster to swing its club wildly and accidentally trigger a cave-in, trapping Vulcan under falling rocks. Tama leaps into action, using his Ether Howl ability to scatter the rubble and save Vulcan just in time. With the danger averted, Iria gathers her strength and charges at the Minotaur one last time, piercing its chest with her sword and ending the battle. Exhausted and stunned, Iria can hardly believe she defeated such a formidable foe. Vulcan, equally impressed, praises Tama for his bravery and heroism in saving her life. That night, the group returns to the guild to deliver the items they collected. Anna, the guild receptionist, is moved to see how far Iria has come, especially her ability to defeat such powerful enemies. The team celebrates their success at a lively tavern. During the festivities, Vulcan suggests forming a permanent team, nervously admitting that someone needs to maintain Tama's armor. Tama, sensing her sincerity, places his paw on Iria's hand and then on Vulcan's, signaling his approval of the idea. With the team officially formed, the celebration ramps up. As the night goes on, Iria and Vulcan drink so much they pass out on top of each other in bed, unintentionally squishing Tama between them. Stuck and unable to move, Tama also can't sleep, so he listens to the 2 women mumbling strange things in their sleep, some of which involve cats. Unbelieving what he's hearing, Tama retreats into his thoughts, leading him to discover an option to evolve into a second form. He contemplates whether evolving into a powerful behemoth would make Aria abandon him, or if staying a kitten would let him stay by her side forever. The next morning, Tama is still in his kitten form when he and Aria come across two men beating a defenseless little girl, accusing her of theft. Recognizing Tama as the elemental cat who defeated Casman, the men panic and flee without a fight. Aria comforts the girl and asks her name. The girl, Lala, looks down sadly when asked about her parents, revealing she's alone. Aria, moved by her plight, invites Lala to come with her. The group heads to a nearby church where several children happily greet Aria, clearly familiar with her kindness. Inside, the church caretaker, Anun, promises to take care of Lala. Watching Aria's compassion for these children, Tama feels a renewed sense of devotion to protect his master and everything she holds dear. Later that afternoon, Aria, Vulcan, and Tama visit the Adventurers Guild, where Anna officially grants Aria the C-rank title. However, the celebratory moment is dampened when Anna shares troubling news about the city of Leonard. She explains that many people have recently gone missing, believed to be the work of demons, and none of them have ever returned. Hearing this, Aria grows serious and asks Anna for all the details about the case. That's it for episode 2. See you in the next video.